Hi, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Spilling the Tea on GovCon. I'm Teresa Moon, Director of Marketing for Parabolis. We are the preeminent partnership for government contractors, providing holistic support that includes a line of credit to fund your growth. The purpose of this podcast is to assist small businesses with success in the federal marketplace by introducing them to industry experts and resources that they may not otherwise know about. Today, my guests are from our close partners, Anglin, Reichmann, Armstrong, a full-service CPA firm headquartered in Huntsville, Alabama. I'm proud to welcome Michelle Jenkins, who is partner at the firm, and department head Emily Zirbel. Welcome, ladies.
Hey, thanks for having us today.
Absolutely. This is awesome. I'm excited because we've actually worked together for a while. This isn't new, us knowing one another. And we've done a lot of prep for this conversation. So I'm really excited about it because we've been talking a lot about this topic on our show. We, like I said, did a lot of prep for it. So we are 100% prepped and prepared to deliver really, really quality information today. But even though you and I know each other pretty well, there are some people that may be listening to us that might not know who you are and know too much about the firm. So, Michelle, I'm going to go ahead and, since you're on my left on my screen, I'd like you to, share with our audience who you are, what your background is in government contracting and in your expertise, and a little bit about the firm too, please.
Sure, yeah. I'm Michelle Jenkins. I'm a partner in our firm, and I oversee our government contracting niche and our consulting niche as well in the firm. And so I've worked there. I would say time flies when you're having fun. So I have to count how many years it's been, but it's been 12 years now. And so we, as a firm, have a tax and consulting practice, and our largest niche is government contracting. We're based out of Huntsville, Alabama, with offices in Winter Haven and Pensacola. So,
hi, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Spilling the Tea on GovCon. I'm Teresa Moon, Director of Marketing for Parabolis. We are the preeminent partnership for government contractors, providing holistic support that includes a line of credit to fund your growth. The purpose of this podcast is to assist small businesses with success in the federal marketplace by introducing them to industry experts and resources that they may not otherwise know about. Today, my guests are from our close partners, Anglin, Reichmann, Armstrong, a full-service CPA firm headquartered in Huntsville, Alabama. I'm proud to welcome Michelle Jenkins, who's a partner at the firm, and department head Emily Zirbel. Welcome, ladies.
Hey, thanks for having us today. We love listening to this podcast, so we're excited to be part of it.
Awesome. Well, I love hearing that, and I appreciate you for giving the plug there, and I didn't even have to pay for it, so thank you. I'm excited to have you guys on because we have worked together for a while now, and it's about time, so shame on me for not having you on sooner. But for those that are listening that might not be aware of who your firm is and what you guys do, and then who you guys are as well and your expertise, I'd love for you to take a few minutes and introduce yourselves, talk about your experience within your expertise in government contracting in general. And I'm going to start with Michelle, and then if you wouldn't mind talking a little bit about the firm too, please.
Sure, absolutely. I'm Michelle Jenkins. I'm a partner in our firm, and I oversee our government contracting niche as well as our consulting niche. I've been with the firm. I always say time flies when you're having fun. So it's been 12 years now. And our firm as a whole, we are a traditional firm, meaning that we have a tax and an audit practice, and then we have our consulting practice as well. So government contracting is our largest niche. We're based out of Huntsville, Alabama. We serve clients all over the U.S., though we also have offices in Pensacola, Florida, and Winter Haven, Florida. So GovCon is our niche and where I focus in, obviously. We work a lot on the consulting side with accounting systems, CFO and controllership type duties, strategic plans and budgets and pricing, and all of the things that our government contractors from the start of their business really have to get their feet under them with. So look forward to today's conversation too, because we help and see a good bit of the mentor, protege, and the JV process as well. So
Awesome. Thank you for that. Emily, tell us about yourself.
Hi, I'm Emily Zirbel, and I'm a manager and department head in our Solutions Advisory Services Department. I've been with the firm almost 7 years. Similar to Michelle, I support a lot of our government contracting clients, various sizes, support them on various softwares, and again, throughout mentor-protege relationships and other things that come along.
Well, that's perfect because that's what we're here to talk about today. So I'm glad. And Emily, we're going to start with you. I think we've done a lot of prep internally at Parabolas in the last couple of months because the SBA Mentor Protege program, JV programs, are at the top of everyone's mind. Things are changing right now. They're opening it up for a lot of conversation within the community to talk about how they're going to move forward with it. And so it was perfect timing for us to collaborate on this because, there's a lot of nuances that go into it that your CPA has to help you with. And if you didn't know that, you could be setting yourself up for not necessarily failure as much as some, heartache and bottlenecking in your business development process if this is something that you're planning to do. So setting your mentor protege, your JV up for success includes having resource partners on your team that can handle things like this for you. And so I'm going to start with you, Emily. Why is it important that mentor protege relationships include support from someone with your expertise?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I think it's very important to include someone with our expertise as part of this relationship, because oftentimes what we see is the proteges don't always know what they do or don't need. We're able to assist and identify what they may need from an accounting perspective. We have a whole lot of experience working with small businesses, so we have an advantage to know what other companies may struggle with or what does or doesn't work, depending upon where you are in the life cycle of your business. So it can be very, very beneficial to have support from a team of accounting consultants that are experts in government accounting.
So you bring up a great point, something that we talk about a lot. The fact that you work with a lot of businesses is helping your expertise be able to counsel the businesses that you are working with from the experiences that you have with other people who might be in a different industry, but if they're utilizing specific programs that are similar or whatever the comparisons may be, you can take that experience of walking them through it and grow in your own expertise. And so I love that you highlighted that because I think that that's wonderful and super important, especially when someone's looking for a resource partner to provide them with a service such as this. If they don't have any experience with it, with any other businesses, they're not bringing to the table a level of understanding of how things work. Nobody wants to be the guinea pig, right? Like, I think it's great that you need some, tread under your feet so that you can get some experience, but I prefer not to be the business that gives you that experience, that first time experience. So I think that's a great point to be made. So maybe that's a question you should ask if you're talking to a CPA firm. I always recommend you should talk to these ladies right here and the rest of their team. However, if you already are engaging with a CPA and you're going to have them help you with something like this, maybe ask them the level of experience that they've had helping other businesses through it. Good question to put on your, your resume of questions that you're going to be asking those folks, because it would be nice to know that they know what they're talking about and they're not just Googling it like I like to do.
Yeah. I'll add too, I find a lot of times when you're doing these, you're in a role where you already are running your company. And so I think to get support from that standpoint too, time is money and you can focus on other things. I think that's a good aspect when a lot of companies are in these mentor protege relationships to get some support, from that
Absolutely.
point. And also, I know we're going to talk later about JVs, so just plug for that too, right? If you go down that path with your mentor protege relationship.
Yeah. And that's a good point too. There is a difference. They're not the same. And we're going to talk about that. So great that you mentioned that as well. Emily, I also wanted to know some of the requirements for both the mentors and the proteges, because even though it seems pretty cut and dry, there are a lot of nuances to it. There's a lot of rules within these two programs. And so if you wouldn't mind digging in a little bit deep with that for us, please.
Yeah, that's a great point, that they are two different things with two different requirements. So I'll just take a few minutes. I'll give a high level overview of what Mentor Protege program is in case anyone listening isn't familiar. So the purpose is to enhance capabilities of protege firms by requesting approved mentors to provide business development assistance to protege firms and to improve the protege firm's ability to successfully compete for federal contracts. So with that, there are several types of assistance that can be provided by the protege to the mentor. Technical and management assistance, financial and accounting, contracting, business development, general and administrative. So there's a lot of specifics that fall into these buckets, but these are kind of the high level buckets in which the support falls into. And then also with that, so there's several requirements for both mentors and proteges in this agreement. So first, I'll start with a mentor. So they must be a business, but can't be a nonprofit or governmental entity. They have to have resources to assist the protege, and they may have up to 3 concurrent proteges at one time. So there's a little bit more, I feel like, requirements for the protege maybe than the mentor, because a lot of times the mentors are already up and running, and that's their part of the relationship is to mentor and develop the proteges. And so protege requirements, so they must be a business as well, can't be a nonprofit or governmental entity. They must be small in their primary NAICS code. But if they're not small in their primary NAICS code, the protege can qualify if small in a secondary NAICS code in which the company would like to develop. So even if they're not there yet, but they're looking to expand and have a secondary NAICS code, they could still qualify. They do not have to hold any certifications. So they don't have to be 8A, they don't have to be HubZone, women-owned small business, SDV, OSB, etc. There's not any requirements there. They have to be any of those. They will generally have no more than 1 mentor at one time, but they may have 2 with SBA permission. And it's normally limited to 2 SBA mentors over the protege's life. So those are just some requirements. And I'm sure if you're listening, you may be wondering how Anglin can help provide support to the proteges. So we recently had a protege come to us and they needed help with proposal pricing support and indirect rate calculations. We were able to provide an allotted amount of hours to them to be used towards these accounting needs. We offer several levels of service that the proteges may need at different times in the life cycle of their business. So for example, a business that's very young may need assistance, a different level of assistance than a company that's more mature in their life cycle. So if the business is very young, we may help develop policies and procedures. They may be brand new and don't have any policies and procedures in place. And as we all know, in the government contracting world, policies and procedures are very important. So that's something we can offer to help. Learning the basics of accrual accounting. Again, if they're new in the business, they may not know what they don't know, and we are here to help teach them accrual accounting. Understanding the development of indirect rates. That's something until you get in the government contracting world, indirect rates are a whole different thing. And so we can help them really understand and dive in, help them develop those rates and how they want to calculate them. We can also assist with accounting system selection. So the good thing about us is we're users of several accounting systems, and we can provide both pros and cons to multiple systems in an unbiased way. So we also can provide FAR 31 workshop to help the protege better understand what costs can be allowable versus what's unallowable. If the business is a little bit more mature with contract activity, they may need assistance submitting an incurred cost submission. That's something we can provide training with them on how to submit that, maybe what DCA is looking for. They also may want to revisit their indirect rate strategies. They may want to consider adding a material handling pool. So we're able to assist with this development. So there's many things that you can see, depending upon where they are in the life cycle, that we can help with.
I love that, because the training and education piece is key, because while you might be their partner for these matters, you're not with them all the time. So if they're not learning how to utilize the language that's appropriate for each of those items that you said that you can help them with, they're not able to properly advocate for themselves, both to their mentor or to any other businesses that they might be dealing with, or the government themselves, right? And so the whole purpose of the program is for growth, right? The mentor is supposed to benefit from it as well. It's a mutually beneficial relationship, right? It's not just a charitable offering. It's the mentor needs to benefit from it, and by means of being able to utilize either a core capability or a certification that they can utilize to gain access to better contracts, those types of things, so that they can benefit from it. But the protege being able to benefit from it is growing within their own established capabilities, growing within the industry or their niche that they are a part of. And so advocacy and education go hand in hand and are key. And there aren't a lot of service providers that do both. Most service providers, especially, and no offense to your field, right? But most service providers in your field are doers and not teachers. They're practitioners, not educators. The hand in hand is so important when you really are trying to form long-term partnerships. So I love that you've highlighted that, because while there are many, many firms that are very knowledgeable and very proactive with helping their clients, they sometimes only provide that practitioner side of it, and they don't do the explanation side of it. And the business owner might know nothing about that. We see it in our industry a lot. It's intimidating. If you don't know that portion of your business, you sometimes will take for granted the resource partner that you put in place. And if that person doesn't give you any insight on why and how they are doing what they're doing for you, they could take advantage of you. If they aren't good people, like, the three of us sitting here, we like to have a good time, but at least we're good people at the end of the day too, right? But we actually take the time to do what's best and highlight things. And by educating your clients so that they know enough about it to ask questions, to advocate for themselves, to be a part of the process with you, all the things that you said, some people were probably listening going, I don't even know what that means. Well, that's why you want to partner with groups like yours, with firms like yours, because you guys offer training to your clients so that they can understand those aspects of their business. So I think you did a great job of highlighting what the tenets of the actual program were, but even more so, you went a step further to talk about not only the services that you guys provide, but the ways that clients can interact with you from that educational standpoint. I think that's fabulous. And that's why I refer you guys so often, because it's that twofold approach. And that's what makes it full service. So if someone says they're a full service CPA firm, they have to include pieces like this in order to really claim that. So I love it. Great job, Emily. Thank you so much for that information. All right, Michelle, now we're going to shift over to JV, because we said already, mentor, protege, and JV, not the same. So does a JV have filing requirements or expenses prior to winning its first contract?
Yeah. So a lot of times we see when our clients form a JV, and in that process, it's kind of, okay, you form the JV, you're going to bid on some work, but there's no real activity going on in that joint venture. So it kind of sits over there until you win something, typically, in most people's minds. But just always a reminder that we like to put out there is that you still have filing requirements once you create a legal entity, to make sure that you're doing the city business license or any other filings or tax filings for that entity, that you're keeping up with the bank account. A lot of times you'll open a bank account and they'll have, a minimal amount in that. If there's any expenses, from those tax returns and things that they're getting put into the system, and any payments that are being made. So there's still a little bit of bookkeeping, filings and things that go on prior to that JV winning contract work. And a lot of times I think, people are just kind of waiting for that JV to win some work, but just keep in mind, those are things you need to stay on top of. If there's any SAM registrations that need to be updated, or your annual updates, because when you win that contract, you want all that to be ready. Or when you start, getting more into those proposals, you want all of that stuff in place.
Super important, because as I've learned through this process, I didn't know a lot about these programs prior to the last couple of months with all of the proposed changes. And, from a legal standpoint, it makes you, your head spin around like the exorcist, trying to understand what they're even talking about and how it's going to apply, especially when they're just proposed recommendations. They're not like anything. People get freaked out and think that things are changing and it's going into law, and it's not. But I think what's best to highlight here is that a joint venture is a separate entity. It is the merging, correct, of the two businesses together in a separate entity.
Well, yeah, that's correct. So usually each partner in that JV has some ownership percentage. And, we also, I know we said a joint venture is very different than the mentor protege program. But I was referencing earlier, a lot of times mentor protege relationships may form a JV because they can utilize some of the small business aspects of the protege and a lot of the work performance history of that mentor through a JV process. And so, but yeah, these are separate entities. The partners go into the JV. And so,
from a filing perspective on all accounts,
yeah.
and we all know that the tax requirements on new entities are usually the biggest haul. So if you're not aware of that, you have to be setting everything up because it's like starting a new business. It's same thing with funding, right? You're going to have to open bank accounts and all kinds of stuff for this new business, this new entity. So it's important to recognize that. That's a big, huge differentiator. Mentor protege is more of a working relationship where the JV is like a marriage. You've got a legally binding relationship there. And so make sure you're entering into those with not only a CPA that understands what the implications of that are, but also some legal representation that can read through documents so that you're not signing your soul away to a partner that might take advantage of you in those situations. Right. I know that's another conversation. And we've actually had that with another partner of ours that understands it from the legal aspect as well. But that's why it's important to have all of these parts put together with your resource partners first, because they can bring their expertise to the table and advocate on your behalf and obviously keep you up to speed along the way, but not leave you out to dry because you didn't know how to best represent yourself on these fronts with this. And so great points, Michelle. I appreciate that. So, getting into some nitty gritty of what you guys can do, can you talk about what the difference is in populated versus unpopulated JVs?
Yeah. So when you form a JV, a lot of times companies are going to have a discussion on how they're going to handle this. An unpopulated JV would be two companies typically coming together in this joint venture, but they're not intending to ever populate, meaning put employees into this JV. So company A is going to have a subcontract agreement with the JV, and company B is going to have a subcontract agreement with the JV, and no employees will really ever be housed in that JV. They will stay in the companies that are doing the work. And so that's an unpopulated JV, and that runs a little bit differently because you don't have the payroll aspect in that joint venture. And one of the big things that typically, if you've been running a company for a few years, you're like, okay, I know how to do pricing. And then you start, when you're in an unpopulated JV, you're looking at it and you're okay, well, I don't have employees. You don't have a fringe pool anymore. So it's really just subcontractor labor and indirect spend. And so that can look a little bit different from a cost buildup. So we just kind of typically ask that question on the front end, think about that, and know populated JV would be more traditionally like a company where you're going to have employees in that company, and they're going to be the ones performing the work on any contracts that are awarded. So just knowing those differences and knowing up front which way the JV has been formed or intended to bid on these contracts helps from a pricing perspective too on that very front end when you're forming the JV and looking at putting in some proposals to get some work into that JV. So
I love that. And I appreciate that overview of it as well, because I actually didn't know about that at all. And so thank you. I in the checking the box of learn something new today, you just fulfilled that for me. So thank you so much. Yeah. That was awesome. I want to point out as well, these are just some of the many, many services that you provide in your expertise in your field to government contractors. So don't think of Anglin, Reichmann, Armstrong as specific to just mentor protege joint ventures. They are assisting many of Parabolis's clients currently, but clients are across the country. They're not exclusive just to the Southeast as well. Just like many companies, you service companies all over the country. You have a specific GovCon division that you head up, Michelle, but you guys also service the commercial market as well. So I think it's notable to point that out so that people know that they can reach out to you for any questions that they have within this realm. And I think that this was like more enlightening than most people probably anticipated by looking at the title of it, because if they don't know that they want to get into this, they don't know all that's involved in it. And if they just can see it from the lens of there are businesses that can help you get involved and get it started so that you're not just winging it. These are one of those resource providers here. These ladies here and their teams can really help you set yourself up for success with this. And so I truly appreciate you both being here. I know that you're super busy, especially, getting into the, final quarter of the fiscal year. So I appreciate you taking your time and joining us today.
Yeah, thanks so much for having us.
Absolutely. And I look forward to you coming down to Florida. You guys have an office down here now, so no excuses.
That's
Come
right.
down and have some fun with us. And I'll be up to Huntsville pretty soon as well. So thank you so much.
I look forward to it. Thanks.
Awesome. Well, and thank everyone else for joining us as well. As always, we pride ourselves on sharing the most insightful and exciting people and information to help you better navigate your GovCon journey. If you like what you heard today, you can see all of our past podcasts, which are archived on our YouTube channel by the same name. Stay tuned for all of our future guests in the coming months as we help you grow to great heights in the year ahead. I'm Teresa Moon, and this is Spilling the Tea on GovCon. Have a great day, my friends.